My 8-year-old son, Lucas, came home from school one rainy afternoon and said something that made me freeze. "Dad, my teacher knows you." I laughed, thinking he was joking. "Which teacher?" I asked. Lucas dropped his backpack near the kitchen table and smiled. "Mrs. Rachel Turner." The name hit me like a punch. Rachel, I hadn't heard that name in 12 years. She had been my best friend in college and the woman I had secretly loved. We had spent countless nights studying together, drinking cheap coffee, and talking about the future. But after graduation, Rachel moved to California while I stayed in Ohio. We slowly lost touch, and life carried us in different directions. I eventually married, became a father, and later found myself raising Lucas alone after my divorce. I rarely thought about Rachel anymore, or at least I convinced myself I didn't. But hearing her name suddenly brought back memories I had buried for years. "Are you sure?" I asked Lucas. "Yes, Dad. She knew your name before I told her." That frightened me more than it should have. The next morning, I drove Lucas to school and walked him inside. As I reached his classroom, I saw a woman standing near the window organizing papers. She turned around. My heart stopped. It was Rachel. Her brown hair was shorter and there were faint lines around her eyes, but I recognized her instantly. She stared at me for several seconds before whispering, "Jason." I could barely answer. "Rachel, what are you doing here?" She looked just as shocked as I felt. Before either of us could say another word, Lucas ran toward us with a huge smile. "Dad, Mrs. Turner told me she used to know you." Rachel forced a small smile, but something in her expression made me uneasy. "She knows much more than that," Rachel whispered. Then the school bell rang, and she quickly stepped back into her classroom. As I walked away with 1,000 questions in my mind, I realized one terrifying truth. Rachel hadn't simply recognized me. She had been waiting for me to find out why she was back. After school, Rachel asked me to wait until the hallway was empty. When the last students left, she closed the classroom door and looked at me with the same nervous expression I remembered from college. "Jason, I never expected to see you again," she said. I asked why she had come back to Ohio. She took a deep breath and explained that her mother was seriously ill and she had returned to help care for her. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out an old worn envelope. My name was written on it in the handwriting I instantly recognized. "I wrote this 12 years ago," she whispered, "but you never answered." My hands began to shake as I opened it. Inside was a letter Rachel had written the night we graduated. She had confessed that she loved me and wanted to stay together. I stared at the final sentence, realizing I had never seen the letter. "Rachel, I never received this." Tears filled her eyes. She told me she had mailed it to my old apartment, but the envelope must have been returned or lost. For 12 years, we had both lived believing the other person had walked away. I admitted that I had loved her too, but I thought she only saw me as a friend. We laughed sadly at how one missing letter had changed everything. Through the classroom window, Lucas watched us and smiled. Months later, Rachel became an important part of our lives. She never tried to replace anyone. She simply brought warmth, laughter, and a second chance. One evening, Lucas hugged her and said, "I'm glad my teacher knows my dad." Rachel smiled through tears. I looked at her and realized some stories don't end when people separate. Sometimes they simply wait for the right moment to begin. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe to Enlightened Story and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear what you thought.